Yes, he
Uh,
is, and he's like um, his mom and my mom are like sisters, and he's like a brother. So
yeah.
basically, you know, I know you said this. You said this to me that you're certain somebody would speak to me and I would listen. I know,
Mga
but
mana kayo falan ute. But the fact of the matter is
but
that there are people
the truth is that there's certain people that they talk to you and
you
they
cannot say
make
no
you
to.
can't say no, no matter how you're human, but you're human,
Exactly.
and they make you reason, they make you see look at things
Yeah.
from different perspective. I
Yeah.
also I explained to him, I spoke to him about my perspective and where I was coming from, but I've just made a resolve that I'm not gonna say anything about my issue with the AG or the Justice Ministry. I'll just keep quiet. One thing I do know that I will say that I'm not, my conscience is clear. I'm not guilty of anything, and most definitely I'm not a fugitive. But aside of that, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. In fact, I'll probably go on my Facebook post and just probably clear some of those posts and just go on. But hey, that's it. I just wanted to put you or feed you in on that, and of course our followers as well. And then let's just run with this. So I'll let you start because today's your day, right? You're very passionate about these things. I know there are two things that are happening at the moment that you're very passionate about. One is the issue about the cops, and then of course the Sajo guy. Sajo, what's his last name? Sambu? Sajo.
No, that's Omar Sajo.
Omar Sajo. Yeah, Omar Sajo. Yeah.
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 So it all revolves around justice and the delivery of justice in the Gambia, and today's conversation, knowing fully well that tomorrow is would mark two years since the killing of the cops, and next tomorrow would mark 2 years since the incarceration of Hussein Bojang and Ami Bojang. And of course, looking at our justice system, it is important to bring to speed, the things that have been happening that we thought, would never happen in the Gambia, or the so-called new Gambia that is promised that nobody knows what exactly defines it. As I often would say, its strength lies on its vagueness and would depend on who is dealing with it to give it a definition. So it's the new Gambia is amoeboid in shape because it has no shape and it has no direction. And currently, it is characterized by corruption, malgovernance, and of course, abuse of our existing laws and related things. Khadija, what do you want? You're not going to show your face on this video. It has nothing to do with you. Okay? You gotta be a good girl. Okay? Okay? You gotta be a good girl. Can you hear me? Okay, now sit here. You sit? Yeah. So it's characterized by a lot of corruption and malgovernance, lies and deception and stuff like that. So today, what we want to do is first, I did send you Omar's contact. I am using my phone to connect, so maybe
Is he
you
is he
can.
going to is he going to join us on the live, or am I calling him on WhatsApp?
Probably call would do, or on a WhatsApp would do. Then because Gambia sometimes the internet and I think it's somewhere in Quebec or somewhere around those
Can you
areas.
I just need to ask the viewers, can they see me? Because I'm looking at my other phone. I can only see my forehead.
Yeah, that's the problem now. I think we need to actually look at using streams because with normal whatever now that often you just see half of your face or your mouth
Yeah, I
and
can
nothing
only see
more.
my forehead. I don't know. Let me see if I put this down a bit. I don't
You
have
have
my
to
passport.
probably step a little bit further away from it.
Okay. I don't know if this is better. Um,
So what we would do is Omar is one person that was in the Gambia National Army and has served the army for several years. And since the change of government, for whatever reason, just ask what happened in the case of the cops. that the UDP was complaining about Pate Jallo, and Pate Jallo got killed. For some reason, somebody said, "Oh yeah, Omar Sajo is Salif Sajo's son," and that is just out of the blue. The military pursued that, fired this guy from the army, told the whole country that that is Salif Sajo's son, vilified the dude, lied against him, went on to jail him, for several days, and of course prosecuted him. And for some reason, the judgment came out to say this dude has no connection whatsoever with Salif Sajo. All the military said about him are just lies and fabrications. And of course, the court ruling up till date have not been, respected by the government of the Gambia. Put the boy
So I've
back in
got
the
I've
army,
got
they
I've got
delivered him
I've
to
got
freedom.
I've got Sajo on the line now.
Yeah.
Hello, Sajo, can you hear me? Hello. Yeah, hi, Sajo, you all right? Okay. This is Mel. This is Melville, and I've got Omar as well. And so basically everybody can hear you. So I just want you. I'll just leave you and Omar to do this, and then we'll take it from there. So Omar, you've got Sajo on the line.
Right. Hey, Sajo, how are you? Can you hear me, Omar?
Yeah, I'm getting loud and clear.
Very good. So we're just talking about your case, knowing fully well that you've served in the army for several years, and for some reason, somebody somewhere decided to just come up with fabrications to say you are the son of this rebel leader in Kazama, Salif Sajo, and they did fire you in the army, jailed you for some time, put you on trial. Of course, the judgments came out, multiple judgments, not just one, but the government of the Gambia to this day failed to honor those judgments. So we want you to tell us what exactly happened, from the beginning of things. How did, people come about to say you are Salif Sajo's son, and what have you experienced all the way to this day today?
Okay, my brother, thank you very much for the question. Yeah, during this coalition, when they come to power in 2016, yeah, I was accused as I'm not a Gambian, and I'm a son of Salif Sayo, a rebel leader in Casamas. So upon that, I was also arrested and I was detained for 3 months, 22 days. So upon that 22 days, I was dismissed from the army. So upon that also, we filed the case to the court. The judgment came out after the judge tell him that my dismissal is unlawful. So they're supposed to reset me back to the army, and they pay me all the years that I hit. But still now, I don't receive anything from the army. Yeah.
So what I want to know is when were you arrested and where were you detained for the period of 3 months, 22 days? How did that come about?
Yeah, I was posted in Sibano. That was that was on the second of September. That was I was deployed to Sibano. I served there 1 month. So upon my arrival back to Yundum, it was on the 2nd of October. When I came back from Sibano, the moment I entered in the barracks for changes, that was the day I was arrested. It was on the 2nd of October. That's the day when I was arrested and I was detained. I was locked in the cell for 3 months, 22 days.
So you were detained in the barracks?
Yeah, I was locked in the 1B. 1B, and when I say 1B, I mean the Yundum barracks.
Yeah, I know.
And inside the cell. Yeah.
Right. So that's where you stayed for 3 months, 22 days.
Yeah, that was the place I stayed for 3 months, 22 days. So upon that, I was now on the 2nd of October. That was the day I was here. I was put in the cell. On the 7th of October, they took me to the NIA in Banjul. Then I came back again to the barracks. It's where I served my 3 months, 22 days in the cell.
So how many days did you spend at the NIA?
No, I don't spend any day. I don't spend even. I was there roughly for three hours. So I went to the NIA. They were just asking me some questions that I answer. And the director of NIA told the army that I cannot keep this man here at the NIA. So they take me back,
So out of curiosity, I want to know, what was the NIA asking you?
When I upon my arrival at the NIA, so I met them all sitting waiting for me. We arrived there, it was around after 4. Normally it was closing hours. So when I read what the question they asked me, what was your relationship with the former the president, Jemme. So that was they told me that we had an information that you are not a Gambian, you are from Senegal, Casamance here. Jemme is a friend of Sal Sajo. So Yajime brought you from South Sajo 1995 and put you in the Gambia Armed Forces. My answer to them was, my brother, just look at me. If I entered in the army in 1995. That 1995 meeting, I was in grade 3. Yeah.
So you were in grade 3, and they said you entered the army in 1995.
Exactly. That was what the NIA told me.
Omar.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Let me just give a bit of context to the viewers. So basically, we're speaking to Omar
Sajo.
Omar Sajo. Omar Sajo was a serving member of the Gambia Armed Forces, and what happened was in 2016, I think, after the coalition government came into power, he was was that 2016 or 2017? Omar,
Yes.
was it 2017 or 2016?
No, it was 2017.
So it was 2017. That's when they accused you of being a non-Gambian who was brought into the army by Yahya Jammeh.
Exactly.
And then later on, it was alleged that you were the son of the rebel leader Salifu Mane, Salifu Sajo, the leader of the Casamas rebel.
Exactly.
And eventually, you were detained. You were detained at the Yundum barracks for 3 months, and then
I was detained for 3 months in Yundum barracks,
and subsequently taken to the NIA. And thereafter, what happened?
Yeah, upon my arrival at the NIA, that's what I just said just right now. We arrived at the NIA. I was escorted by the military police in Yundum. So when you arrive at the NIA, what the question they are posing is that they ask you relationship with the Yajeme. That's what they asked me. So I also answered to them that after they came for that, their second question was, we received a report from the Gambia Armed Forces. They say that you are not a Gambian, you are from Casamas, and you are just brought by Yaya Jammeh to the Gambia Armed Forces in 1995. Yeah.
Okay, and so after that, what happened?
So after that, when I answer all those questions, so the director of NIA came and told him that this man, I cannot keep this boy here at the NIA. So the military police also take me back to the vehicle. They drove the vehicle back to Yundum. It's where I served 3 months to do this in the cell.
Okay.
So after that is when they released you, and then your family decided to go to court, or was it the government that took you to court?
No, from what I read, after that, he was dismissed from the army. And after when you were dismissed from the army, that was when you were released. Am I correct, or did I read it wrong?
No. Let me come back. So I was arrested on the 2nd of October. So on the 5th of October, I was taken to orders in Numbaras. So that on the 5th of October, I was dismissed from the army.
So when you were dismissed from the army, were you still in detention, or did they release you at that point?
No, I was not released. I was dismissed on the 5th. I was arrested on the 2nd of October. On the 5th, they take me to orders. So on the 5th, I was dismissed from the army. From a dismissal from the army, they just take me to the cell again.
So basically, if I get you right, so you were dismissed from the army, meaning you were no longer a serving officer of the Gambia Armed Forces.
Exactly.
So technically or legally, then they had no sort of jurisdiction over you to keep you. Because if you were still a serving member, then of course you could. I mean, you could have gone through a court martial or gone through other sort of.
Let's get his perspective, and later you can do the analysis on the basis of the
No,
law.
yeah, I was just trying to make. Yeah, okay, all right,
Or
okay,
otherwise, So
okay.
Omar,
Go on, Sajo.
yeah. Let me get one thing. They dismissed you on the 6th, and then they detain you for how long again? For the 3 months?
I was detained again 3 months, 22 days.
So it was after 4-5 days of your detention that they dismissed you and still maintained or kept you there for 3 good months.
Exactly.
Okay. So how did you get to court?
Yeah, upon the time I served the cell for 3 months to 22 days. So after one day I was there, it was even at night. It was around 11 o'clock. It was January only. I forgot the date exactly, but it was January. So I was there around 11 o'clock at night. They came. The military police officers came. That they say let them release me from the cell that night. So what I told them that I will not leave the cell by this time of the night. I was arrested in the morning. That day was a normal working hours, and tomorrow will be a normal working hours. So I will spend the night here up to tomorrow in the morning. Then I pick my bag and go home. So the people said that no, this is the order we received, that let us come and we will release you. I told them that I'm not going. So upon that, my wife also was there. My wife was crying, telling me that we just go home, just let us go home. So I just decided to pack my bag and I go home.
Okay. So they arrested you in the morning, dismissed you in the army, still keep you incarcerated in the military barracks for 3 months, decided over in a night just to say, okay, go home one night because that's the order they received. In the middle of the night, they wanted you to just go home. And then you felt that was probably unsafe because to even release you in the middle of the night to tell you to go home is really unsafe. And you eventually went home. So that's how you went to court, because now we want to fast track this. You went to court. What were the judgments and what happened thereafter?
Yeah, when we went to court, so we are going to court with the army, with the CDS. So upon that court, the judgment came out that the dismissal of Omar Sajo is unlawful. So the judgment said that let them reset me back to the army.
So wait, hang on a second, Omar. Somebody just commented that they can't hear anything. Is this the same for everybody? They cannot hear everything. They cannot hear anything. They cannot hear Omar speaking.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm asking the audience. I'm asking the viewers. Can you hear him or you can't hear anything? Because somebody just made a comment that they cannot hear anything. So I'm just asking if you guys can clarify that you can hear.
If they can't hear, you would see a lot of comment. If it is one person, then it's got to do with their phones.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're hearing you. Okay, that's fine. So Omar, you carry on then.
Okay. During our court, so the judgment came out.
No,
Omar,
Omar, let's get something straight, because when I looked at the court judgments, the one that Omar sent to me, the first judgment obtained was actually at the magistrate's court, and you were being prosecuted at the magistrate's court. Am I correct?
Yeah, that
That
one
is,
also,
was that the
that one
first?
is not, that one was the immigration. You know, I went to court with the immigration too.
So no, yes, that's what I'm trying to get a comprehensive picture of everything. So basically, after you were dismissed, after you were released, was that the time that the immigration took you to court? Well, the police took you to court by virtue of the complaint from the immigration department. Am I correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. So run us down through that process then.
Okay, my going to court with the police was, my documents was expired. My ID and my passport was expired. So my brother sent me money. So I was sitting roughly, over my dismissal. I was sitting roughly more than 2 years. I'm not working. I'm not doing anything, and I'm having a family. I'm having a wife and 2 kids. So my brother told me that. So I talked to him, and I explained my problem that I cannot be in the Gambia like that without not working. And anywhere I apply, I cannot have a job. So my brother told me that. So I told him that my passport is expired. So he told me that now let me send you money. You go to the immigration and look for a new passport. So upon my arrival to the immigration to give my that passport. So the immigration. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, what the immigration told me that was, they received a document from the army that I am not a Gambian, so I'm not a Gambian. I'm from Casamas. So the immigration also kept my passport, my passport in. So I was going up and down. So the immigration said that what they received from their authority said that let them take me to court. I told them, okay, no problem. So we went to court with the immigration also. That court staff was roughly 6 months. I was going with them court. So the judge also come and rule out that let the immigration give me my documents, my everything, because he don't see any crime that I have made.
Okay,
So then I have
that was the criminal case at the magistrate court.
Exactly.
Okay. So what happened after that?
Yeah, after that you are going to court with them.
So were you, no, after that, were you given your documents by the immigration, and was your passport renewed?
Yeah, I was giving my documents on the immigration and they renew all my passport. I have a new passport.
Okay.
But before I get that passport, it was taking me a tough time because every day I was there, every day I have to go to my uniform and my passport. Until the lawyer, I have to call the lawyer one day. The lawyer came there. He told him, look, you took this boy to court, and we took him to court. We win the court. The judge said that give me his documents. Why are you wasting his time again? That was the day they give me the passport.
Okay. Okay. All right. So continue. Okay. So after that.
So after that, the lawyer filed the case to the High Court in Banjul against the army.
So, what was the ruling of that case?
So that case was against the army. That because the army said that I'm not a Gambian. I was dismissed from the army. So I was also locked. For this inside the cell for 3 months, 22 days. So the lawyer filed the case at the High Court against the army. So we were going to court with the army until the judgment was out. So when the judgment tell him that, look, the dismissal of this boy is unlawful. So the boy is supposed to come back to the army. You return back to the army. You pay all these wages and the years that he sit at home. He's not working.
What did the army do?
Exactly. You see?
What did the army do thereafter?
Thereafter, my lawyer wrote to the PMO office. He wrote to the Minister of Justice. He wrote to the Minister of Defense. He wrote to the finance also about that thing. But still now, tomorrow. Up to now, it's coming to about 3 years again. We don't hear anything about the army again.
So you were not reinstated back into the army, even though when I read the court order, it said the dismissal was unlawful and that you should be reinstated back into the army and that you should be paid all your dues from the time of your detention, which the court order also determined that that detention was illegal. And so you were saying you were never paid, you were never reinstated. You wrote to the Ministry of Justice. You wrote to the Accountant General. You wrote to who else? And nothing has been done thus far. And it's been 3 years. You were not reinstated. So basically, what it means is that the army refused to comply with the court order. The Justice Ministry did not comply with the court order. No organ of the state ever complied with that court order. Is that what it is? Am I clear on that?
Yeah, exactly, my brother. That's all about that. And the funniest thing is, my wife's elder brother. He's a friend to the Minister of Justice. That's Jallo. Jallo will sit down in 3 months. He will call my wife that let me copy the judgment papers, and I send him to him. I will do that. After that, he will not call back. He will not say anything. After that, again, he will call more than 3 months, 4 months. He will call back my wife again, telling my wife that yes, tell your husband that I'm working on that. So let me copy the statement and send it to me. Still now. Like,
So I think we've heard from Omar. We will not take much of your time. That's a good explanation. But there is a point that I missed out from the last time I listened to one of your interviews. Now, when you were to be arrested, you were told this prior to your arrest while you were going to work, and then somebody or other people were telling you to run away, and for some reason you refused. So what exactly was that? Like, what exactly did happen that you felt there was no need to go away?
okay, my brother, that's what we are saying is something true. Because when I was in Sibano, because that problem started when I was in Sibano. So in Sibano, when we upon our arrival at Sibano, I was the senior couple by that time. So due to the operation of the military, if you are a guard, if you are there as a senior couple, you will mount section 1. You have to have section 1, section 2, section 3. So I was section 1 commander. So upon our arrival at Sibano, we have a briefing from our commander, who was Captain Sane Madinem Kuti. So after his briefing, so section 1 is supposed to come to pass. They issue you pass. You come and visit your family for 3 days. So I came on that pass. When I was going back, I was at the Gare. My wife called me. He told me that, hey, somebody called me from headquarters that said that this and this, this and this. They say they're going to arrest you at Sibalo. You are not a Gambian. You are a son of Sal Sajo. Isiaje who brought you in the army. I told my wife that no, it's not something true. The guy who called you, he explained to you what is going on. He said that's what the guy tell me. So my wife supposed to pay fare. He came and meet me at the Gari. So I called my sergeant. I told my sergeant that I have a small issue, but before 12 o'clock I will be at Sibaro, inshallah. So I told my wife, okay, come. She paid fare. She come and meet me at the Gari. She explained everything. The guy himself who called my wife called him back. The guy I talked to the guy. He explained me everything. He told me right now, if that headquarters, our numbers are tapped. That's what he told me. Headquarters, our numbers are tapped. Yes. So I was there. Some people were calling me. Somebody called me that me, I'm a lieutenant colonel. They told me you are a good soldier. You have discipline. But this government want to put you in a problem. Please, if you can take my advice, run away and leave the country. I told her, oh, my brother, let me run and leave the country. I don't do anything that will want me to leave the country. I told her, if I'm going to die, I will die in the Gambia here. It's the Gambia I live in, no. Even Kasama, I don't know Kasamas. I only know Gambia. I told that if I die in Gambia here, I'll be very, very happy not to die in Gambia. If my food was thinking, people are telling me, run, this WhatsApp group, they have left the country, these junglers, they leave the country, you can also leave the country. I told them, I'm not going. Junglers, if you see they leave the country, maybe what they tell them that what they did is something true. I don't know whether it's true or not. WhatsApp group also, I don't know. So if they leave the country, I'm not going anywhere. If I'm supposed to die, I'm going to die. But I will not leave the country.
All right, thank you
That's all.
very much, Omar. It's good talking to you, and it's good to hear your perspective. I've heard all your legal documents with Melville. He would actually take us through quite an analysis about what is happening in the Gambia, and specifically this case. And we would have a look into another case which has to do with Usain Bojang and Ami Bojang. But it's nice talking to
But
you, and
before he
Mhm.
goes, Omar, before he goes, because I've been looking after going through the judgment. I've been looking because yes, the discussion is necessary, but we don't want it to be an exercise in futility.
Yeah.
So I have looked at the laws, and I think the best logical step would be to petition the National Assembly Select Committee that is responsible or that has oversight authority over the Justice Ministry.
This
So
matter
I
was
think
brought to the National Assembly over and over.
no, by way of a petition from the
Okay.
from not an issue that was raised on the floor of the National Assembly, but by way of a petition to the National Assembly Select Committee that is responsible or has an oversight authority. So we will continue, Omar, and then we'll look at that. But then we're gonna find ways of actually seeing how best we could just get this matter just get the attention that it duly deserves. I mean, I my position is Gambia is it's a democratic state. It is a state where the rule of law must thrive. It is a state where court orders must be respected and complied with. I mean, if the process or the court process is very clear, if any party is not happy with a court judgment, they have a right to appeal that judgment. And but if they decide not to, then the order of the court must be complied with. I don't think it is right for any state any institution of the state to blatantly disregard court judgments and orders, but yet still want to enforce orders and judgments of the court when it is in their favor. So it is something we'll look at in depth, and then we will revert back. But thank you so much for joining the program, and you will hear back from us in due course. Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir, my brother.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, sir.
Okay, so you can just continue watching the program. So Omar, you can go on.
All right, so we would pick it from there, and that speaks to just one thing, institutionalized, dishonesty, and of course, deliberate attempts of inflicting pain on people, without a base. Now, when the justice minister feels that he can do anything and everything in the country, including doing things that are out of bound, that are outside of the law, or that is probably disrespecting, the courts. Who do they expect to respect the courts? Nguru bu muna wax lu dul dega ëppul nguru Adama Barrow. Because for whatever reason you came in 2017, 16, 17. For some reason you did not know this dude. You just hear the word, oh, Domi Salif Sajola, a responsible government and a responsible army. This boy's case is synonymous or almost the same as what is happening to Usain Bojan. For some reason, you just went out there and that you were told that this is the son of Salif Sajo. You did not do any proper investigation, but out of malicious intent and, of course, evil doings of the former CDS Masane Kinte, you deliberately alleged, fabricated, and framed lies against this young man. A man with a family, a man with children. You went and before dismissing him, you arrested him, detained him for 5-6 days, dismissed him from the army. You did not let him go home, but you detained him for 3 months, 22 days. After dismissing somebody from the army, that means he's no longer a military
A
officer.
serving
He
a
has
serving
no
officer.
He's no longer a serving officer. He has nothing to do with the military whatsoever. Why was he detained for 3 months in a military barracks when he was no longer a military officer because you have already dismissed him out of the army? It does not tell just about how the policing system is, but it tells about the army and its disgusting leadership as it stands right now. We will not shy away from saying some of those things. I'm one person that will not shy away from it. If I can tell the police who killed the cops, I would ask the army, on what basis did you sack this young man? On what basis did you refuse to honor the court order? On what basis did you refuse to, honor the court judgments? And that tells just one single thing, that people are not speaking for people that are being victimized by the regime that should definitely protect them. We talked about all the wrongs that happened in the former regime. But what is better from what we are seeing? A young man who went to school, grew up to get to the level he is. He went to work, of course, joined the army to serve the army, knowing fully well that there is not much money in the army. But of course, love for your country and love for the uniform and of course to serve your people. You joined the army for 10, 15 years just for one person who did nothing for this country and joined into just cheeky politics to come and tell you are son of a rebel leader and they cannot justify it up till date. Funny enough, you cannot justify it. Of course, you went to court, you lost the case, and then you refuse to honor the judgments of the court. And you want to tell young people that, oh, there is Public Order Act in this country. There are laws to be respected in this country when the government of the Gambia cannot respect laws. When the government of the Gambia cannot respect, court judgments. When the government of the Gambia continues to inflict pain on Gambians who have equal rights as these folks who are in some of these ministries and of course holding government key positions. But what do? They dilly-dally, they'll come to you, come through your wife, come through other people, just to lie, fabricate, and of course to just do dubious things just to retain their positions. And that is the Gambia that the government want to tell us that is what we all wanted. That is the new Gambia that we all voted for. But because it's one person and one just Omar Sajo, everybody thinks that, of course, their breads are being buttered. They don't care about it. And of course, it's just one person who cares. Injustice against one person is injustice against the whole nation. And this is exactly what, Dauda, whatever, Justice Minister and co. And of course, the government of Adama Barrow need to understand. If this is done to Adama Barrow's son, will he be happy? If this is done to his wife, will he be happy? If this is done to himself, will he be happy? If this is done to his brothers, his nephews, his cousins, will he be happy? What you will not want people to do unto you, don't do it to other people. And one thing that people must know, that no regime would actually end this world, because someday you will leave the government and of course these documents will remain in the Gambia. And of course, people will continue to speak about them until doomsday. So the whole point is, who should respect the law if the government does not? The same scenario happened. Oh, his name is Omar Sajo because he bears the last name Sajo. You fabricated and framed all your lies within the army. Oh yeah, Pate Jallo, UDP said they are going to revenge. And then you went on to kill another Pate Jallo and put it on the UDP just to tell us that Usainu Bojang works in Brikama Area Council. That he was actually in Hoodie at the UDP court case in Banjul. These two cases are very synonymous and tells a lot about the disgusting nature of the regime in the Gambia. But not to take it too long, I just want to let you, come in because you've heard him, detained by the army for so long, dismissed.
Yes,
and
carry on. His lawyer just sent me some documents which I'm reading. So carry on. That's why I'm kind of
right.
like.
So go ahead reading that. So now that people get lawyers, a poor young man, probably my age or so, or probably a little older, who has a family, has children to feed, to take care of, to pay hospital bills, to transportation. You kick him out of his job for your lies and deception and fabrications, for your hate and dislike. After knowing the truth, you still don't even have the remorse to say, sorry, we are wrong. We did you wrong. We are compensating you and reinstating you in the army. But the current Minister of Foreign Affairs will go to the National Assembly and further lie. And these are the people Barrow compensates and want to remain the president of our country. Voting for Barrow is voting for injustice. Voting for Barrow is voting for continued injustice against the people of our country who did him no wrong. If you tell me that Jammeh did wrong to people who did no wrong to the Gambia, what exactly are we seeing today? Next tomorrow will be 2 years incarceration of Usainu Bojang and Ami Bojang, and their only crime is for people to criminally connive, kill police officers and frame other people. Because it was the same people that told us that Usenu Bojang was a rebel. Just like they told us that Omar Sajo's father was a rebel. Just like Salif Sajo himself came out to tell us that I got no son. And I think the government of the Gambia got to respect me enough to stop lying against me. But where does this position the government of Adama Barrow? As disgusting as it is, we still have people in our country who will tell us that, no, don't talk about this case. I am not those folks that listen to people when I know you that is telling me don't talk about it is not being truthful to yourself, because you will not do it if it is your son or your daughter, your brother or your sister. Pangin waxante diga. Gis nga deka bu nekk si diga lañ koy teg. Du ay kay ñu daje felinali. And the whole point becomes, where do you expect Omar to take care of his family? Where do you expect him to get justice? Where do you expect him to actually go and actually seek redress? If the courts would determine that, of course, this dude was, unlawfully dismissed, yet the army says, no, we will never put you back. Yet the government of the Gambia would say, no, we will not actually compensate you. Of course, we will not respect the court orders, and yet tell us that we are running a government that is actually on the principles of law, that they could tell us that, oh, you don't have a right to protest there, you don't have a right to stand over there, okay, you can put young people in jail, you can do whatever you want, but you will never respect court orders, you will never respect court judgment when it comes to certain people. Because of what? That is discrimination. That is the height of discrimination that the Gambia is experiencing under this regime. So somebody could jump and say, oh yeah, Melville is Omar's father, and of course, yes, he has one problem or another with the regime, or go and arrest Omar, and that is exactly what you will do, and you will just go and jail me for nothing. Even whereas justice comes out, and of course, lawyers would defend this person to the teeth, and of course, the truth would come out, and yet you would just say, no, this is the truth yet, but we will not do it. We will do what is wrong or what pleases us. That is the government we have. That is why Usainu Bojang is in prison. That is why they told us that tomorrow they will do a second-year commemoration for the cops. You know why? Because there is that constant conversation about the cops, and they will never be forgotten. And let me make something clear. When people think that you're only speaking for Usainu, that's not the case. Sanje is one young man that I know, because back then, working in the University of the Gambia, I teach courses in Brikama, and most times I'm around that end. He was a student of my very close friend Alphonse at Presentation of Mary in Brikama. So these are kids that you would see growing up, and you would see them do all their things, and of course, very, very, promising in what they're doing. They believe in what they do. They don't cause no trouble to anybody. Their only crime is to wear the uniform, and of course, to be stationed with somebody with the name Pata Jallo, because UDP was complaining about a Pata Jallo, and a Pata Jallo had to be killed so that somebody can be connected to the UDP with whatever intention that was. The government of the Gambia had the answers, and they got to answer. Because if they do not, just like they lied against Omar Sajo, it's the same lies and fabrication they put on Usainu Bojang. He works in Brikama Area Council. He was hired to kill. He's a rebel. He got the gun from Casamance. Part of the money he was paid was recovered at Befania. Everything about all of that lies. Why will the Gambia government lie that much through the police? And the same police, out of nothing, shamelessness, would come out and tell us, oh, tomorrow we are doing a second year, commemoration of the death of the young officers, when they know very well that their leadership have been lying every day about the killing of these young men. We cannot continue to turn a blind eye. We cannot continue to be silent because we think, no, Jaruko boy, you're a professional, you're doing this, focus on your career. No, that is the height of selfishness. That is the height of evil, to tell somebody that, no, you got to be a self-protectionist when you see your society is being affected and people that you know and grow up with are being victimized by the regime that should be protecting them. And then they will tell you, boy, you're fatal lulu nun. You go Satan opud lulu. If my society is not at peace, I am not at peace. Therefore, you cannot see things from just your own perspective and to see people doing evil because it's not done to you. You feel that you are okay. That is how we normalize a lot of evil that happened in the previous regime, because people were being picked like chicks. And then you just have an eagle that will just come and pick one today, and nobody knows who's going to be picked tomorrow. Until we all know that we are all vulnerable is when we stood up, and we will never wait for that to happen again. We will speak up at the face of injustice, and whatever we get from it, we take it in good faith. But the government got to do right. There you go. I think you're done now. Bring
No,
it up.
I'm communicating with his lawyer, and I've just one of the documents that he sent me um just kind of threw me off guard. Basically, it looks like a legal opinion that emanated from the Ministry of Justice. It is signed by one of the state councils. And from what I see, I've just asked him to clarify for me or to send me that document in whole, because I just saw the back of the document where this on the signature page and that last page. But basically the position of this state council, which I guess is the position of the Justice Ministry, is that the judgment in itself that was obtained. So now I'm confused because I'm not sure whether it's referring to the magistrate's court judgment, which was the criminal matter that was brought against him, or it's actually referring to the civil suit that was done at the High Court, where it was declared that his dismissal was unlawful and that he should be reinstated, and that his full salary and dues should be paid from the time of his detention to date. Now, I'm just trying to see whether that is what it's talking about. But from this opinion, what the opinion is really talking about is trying to make a distinction between a declaratory judgment and an enforceable judgment. I mean, I believe this is just an academic exercise to actually circumvent the substance of the matter that is being dealt with. Because, okay, he's just sent it to me now, so I'm going to look at it properly. Because what it's saying, so I'll tell you, what is a declaratory judgment? A declaratory judgment in substantive, I mean, law, or trying to explain it, basically means a judgment that does not, it's just declarative. So, for example, you go to court and then the judgment says, okay, the rights of Omar have been violated. Okay? And then the judgment stops at that. Now, that is a declaratory judgment because that judgment is not enforceable. Yes, his
Yeah.
rights have been violated, but so what?
Yeah.
What do we do? So the court judgment has established, and this is what the legal opinion is trying to say, that the judgment was declaratory. Now, if the judgment was declaratory, what it means fundamentally is that the judgment falls short of actually granting a relief that could serve as a remedy to what was brought substantively to the court. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is, so where the judgment is simply declaratory, it is saying that it's got no enforceable mechanisms to accompany the substance of that judgment. It says Omar's rights have been violated, but so what? That his dismissal was unlawful. So what? This is what I'm seeing from what was sent. Now,
That's
for an enforceable judgment is where the judgment would say Omar's rights have been violated, and therefore Omar should be reinstated into the Gambia National Army. That is an enforceable judgment because the judgment is actually making a command. It's giving something that can be enforced. But you cannot go and enforce and say blanketly that a person's right has been violated. So now two things are at play. I need to quickly, I'll leave it back to you. But I need to quickly look at what judgment it is referring to.
no,
Whether it is,
but now, do you have the judgment from the army? The judgment for the case of the army?
I have the no, I have the judgment of I have the one from the magistrate court which you sent me, which obviously established that the immigration authorities should
Yeah.
return his passport, return his documents, and issue him a passport because there was nothing on the face of it that established that he actually was obtaining the passport fraudulently.
Yeah.
So that of course is an enforceable judgment because it is mandating the immigration department to
Give.
do
Yeah.
something, to perform an act, give him his passport, and also renew his passport and give him his document. So
Yeah.
that is an enforceable. It can be enforced because it is clear. So now I'm trying to see because logically it wouldn't mean that this judgment is declaratory
Yeah.
because the magistrate's judgment is not declaratory. it is both declaratory and enforceable.
I think that
So
was enforced because he was giving his
so
passport.
he was given.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to see whether this legal opinion is actually referring to the High Court judgment
So
that was a
you don't
declaratory
have the High
judgment.
Court judgment?
I have the High Court judgment, but I'm just looking at I'm going to look at it
Okay.
real quick, just a summary of the judgment. What was the relief that the judgment sought to give to the plaintiff, and then I will look at this legal opinion quickly in summary. So just take it on from there.
All right, thank you very much. So just to continue, I would just give it a little bit focus on Oseno Bojang and Ami Bojang, because knowing fully well that tomorrow, would mark literally 2 years of people's incarceration and, of course, the killing of two innocent young men who did nothing if not just to wear our uniform out of pride and out of love for country, just to be killed in their line of duty simply because one's name is Pate, and because his name is Pate, that is his only crime. But come to think of it, before the police talk about commemorating, the second year anniversary of the killing of the cops, let me give you a context of what happened. That the police have no legitimate right whatsoever. The police should be ashamed of themselves to actually come out to say that they're actually organizing, a commemoration event for people who died on their line of duty, and the police came out to lie about their death. I will give you over 10 lies that the police actually came up with when these young men were killed. The police told us that the killer of these two young men was paid to kill them, and that part of the money he was paid, the police had recovered it. This is a blatant lie that did not exist. I ask you the question, Gambians, why will the police lie about the death of its own men? Two, the police told us that the person who killed these folks was at the UDP court case in Banjul and was the guy in hoodie. And the guy in hoodie came out and told us that I am the one in hoodie, or I was the one in hoodie at the UDP court case that involved, Yankuba Dabo. I am not this killer they got. Why did the police lie again to say that Usainu Bojang was actually the person in hoodie and he had confessed that he was at this court case with this gun? Why will the police fabricate such a lie? Third, the police told us that this person works in Brikama Area Council. When the Gambia, police force and the government machinery has all it takes within a split of a second to know the entire list of employees of Brikama Area Council, because the CEO is appointed by the government. Why did the government of the Gambia lie? Why did they connect it to Yankuba Dabo? Why did they connect it to the UDP? It was the UDP that said that Pate Jallo Mbenjola la Katuika Minken Namola Tilimbali Alomo, because they were going to avenge what Pate and his co were doing to their militants. And that is why another Pate was killed, and was killed in a way that was so gruesome that somebody cannot imagine. And the police came out, did not stop at investigating, but went on to lie from one lie to the other. Four, the police told us that Usainu Bojang, while killing these people, wore a combat boot. This combat boot came to court and it did not fit him in court. Why will the police lie? Again, come to think of it, a common mind, that you go to Sukuta traffic light, you did not see any footprint except that of a combat boot. You know why? Because the bystanders actually said the person wore a combat boot, and they relied on that, went to Usainu Bojang's house and picked his big brother's combat boot, and of course came to court to lie about it. Five, DPP, Director of Public Prosecution of our country, came to court and lied that Mama's audio was lost because Mama, phone was spoiled. How can the audio that you claim to be the incriminating audio, you came to court that should have served as a key evidence, but this evidence that was kind of transcribed over 3 times by the same police, came to court and said the audio was lost because there is no single part of the audio where Usainu Bojang said he killed the cops? Why are you still framing the same person? 6, ladies and gentlemen, you realize that the person that said actually, was one of their witnesses, said He got the gun on the day of the incident, but the police told us in their press conference that they never said that a gun was recovered, that they did not know about any gun recovery, that they only recovered the gun after 10 days. And why did they say so? They said so because they want to conceal every traceable evidence. And they came to court and said that the gun cannot be subjected to DNA. And of course, you cannot do any traceability to know if it was connected to Usainu Bojang. 7. Usainu Bojang's phone was formatted by the Gambia police force. Imagine somebody you said you actually tracked and actually got from one point to another, and then you got his phone and all of a sudden you formatted his phone. Why? 8. It is the police that came out on a press conference and told us that Usainu Bojang is a rebel. This is a young man that I went to school with and grew up with in the neighborhoods of Brufut. So I know him just like I know myself from being a child all the way growing to this day. So when was he a rebel? They could not justify that. They could not actually say anything about that in court. The police told us that Usainu Bojang confessed that he bought the gun from the Casamas rebellion where he once served. Blatant lies. 9. So if we got to 10 now, it is the Gambia police force that fabricated an entire script and told us that Usainu Bojang, after 30 hours of getting this person, that they use codes from one point to another to get this person, and the codes never appeared anywhere, and the codes up to date are nowhere to be seen. DIG source codes need to appear. And if we can add an 11 to it, it is the Gambia police force that told us that Usainu Bojang was cooperating with the investigations, and the police were exceptionally happy just to come to court and say everything the police were saying were lies. And it's the same police that told us that he got co-conspirators and he was provided a vehicle that took him to the thick forest of Casamas. But of course, the same police turned around and arrested his sister and said the sister actually provided him the vehicle. Where are the co-conspirators and where is the money you recovered from him? It is one of their witnesses that said it was the same night of the incident that he took Usainu Bojang, or Bojang to Brufut, and from Brufut to Brikama, and from Brikama to Daslame, and all of this was done within 30 minutes. And of course, it was the same day that he handed over Usainu to, a bike rider. But just for the bike rider to say, I only carried him the next day in the afternoon. And just for it to be confirmed that the phone that the police claimed to be tracking was left in Brufut without a charge, and of course was dead. So the police that is commemorating the death of 2 officers tomorrow have given us over 35 lies in the killing of these young men who were supposed to establish the truth about their death, who were supposed to bring about justice in the death of its own men, turned out to be people who were lying vehemently about the death of its own men. The police are not innocent. Therefore, I call them, it was a criminal cannibalistic act that was masterminded within to support the regime against the United Democratic Party. Lolu duma ko ragala wa fen. Are you done reading that? Probably you can pick it up from there.
Okay, so basically, this is quite interesting. So what I've seen, I've looked at the judgment. Now, the legal opinion. So what happened is the army internally did a legal opinion, right? And in that legal opinion from the army, this is subsequent to after the judgment, yeah, it was determined that yes, the court judgment that they obtained from the High Court declared that his dismissal was unlawful. Okay, but then the legal opinion that came from so they wrote, this is what departments do. They write to the Justice Ministry to say that, okay, this is the situation with this guy. He was arrested by the police, because remember that prosecution had nothing to do with the army. That had the prosecution with the police, the criminal matter with the police had everything to do with immigration, alleging that he was trying to obtain a passport fraudulently.
Yeah.
Now that failed because he was acquitted and discharged because the prosecution couldn't prove its case, and the court held that he was not guilty of the offense. But prior to this, he had already been dismissed from the army.
Yeah.
So he was dismissed from the army. But then, of course, from his explanation, the army had sent a communication to the immigration department to say that the passport that he originally had, he used a false, like he used a false document to obtain that passport. So acting on that information, immigration now decided when he went to renew his passport to arrest him, get him arrested, detained, and taken to court. Now he was acquitted and discharged. And the judgment in that case was very specific that immigration should return his documents and that a passport, a new passport be issued to him, his passport be renewed. Okay? So that was clear and that was done. Now, when they went to court, the judgment, the relief sought in the civil matter where he took the army to court was a declaration that his dismissal was unlawful.
And that's where the judge stopped.
Hang on. Let me finish. A declaration that his dismissal was unlawful. A declaration that his detention was unlawful. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the judge gave the judgment, and I will just read the last page of the judgment, just to make this more interesting, so we're on the same page. But the judgment clearly, this is what so okay. So on the totality of the evidence before me, I find that the applicant was not given a fair hearing before his dismissal from the Gambia Armed Forces. I therefore hold that the dismissal of the applicant from the Gambia Armed Forces by the first respondent is null and void. Okay?
The dismissal is null and void.
The dismissal is null and void.
What does that imply?
That the dismissal did not happen. It has no legal effect. It is null. It's a nullity.
So he's back in the army.
That
No?
presumably. It's
So
saying
you tell me
it's
the
not bad.
dismissal is
No,
null and
it's
void.
not. No, it's not. You see that is why, to be honest, it's sad because I do not even want to. And this is the problem I have, because I don't want to agree with the legal opinion from the Ministry of Justice. I so don't want to agree with it right now.
Okay.
I mean, with everything that's going on in my head, I do not want to agree with the legal opinion.
Now let me ask you this question.
No, hang on, let me finish this point. But the honest truth is, reading this judgment, I'm thinking if I was looking at it on the strict applicability and interpretation of the judgment, I would have arrived at the same conclusion. But let me just finish. So it says that the hearing was what it says, on the totality of the evidence before me, I find that the applicant was not given a fair hearing before his dismissal from the Gambia Armed Forces. I therefore hold that the dismissal of the applicant from the Gambia Armed Forces by the first respondent is null and void. That is the army. Two, he says, okay, in sum, I hold, okay, where's the declaration part? Yeah, that's all. This is an applicant. That's all. That's the entirety of the judgment.
Let me get the context here. If you said you sit at home simply because you were dismissed, right? Now you went to court and the court says the dismissal is null and void. What does that imply?
Exactly. It means that that dismissal is null and void.
So that means you are no longer dismissed.
It means you were never dismissed. You see, that's the problem. Listen.
Now, if you are never dismissed, that means what?
Listen. This is where I find that judgment problematic, because the judgment should have been explicit. The judgment should have been explicit.
That also tells a lot about the justice system.
Because the judgment says the dismissal is null and void. Right?
Yes. Implying there is no more dismissal.
So you cannot say no. You see, that's the problem. You cannot say there is no more dismissal, because what it is saying is the dismissal never happened. It didn't take effect.
No, it might have already taken effect, but the judge is now telling
No,
you
but
it's
the
null
judge,
and void.
this is legal language. It is saying
Yeah.
the reason why it is null and void. So the judge did not say that the dismissal, okay, now, okay, he was dismissed, so he can be, okay, he can be reinstated. Reinstated means
Put
that
him back in the
there
army.
was a dismissal. What that means
Uh-huh.
in simple language is put him back,
Yeah.
reinstate, bring him
Yeah.
back to the original
Yeah.
position. Okay,
Yeah.
that should have been clear. If the judgment had stated that he should be reinstated, that is an order.
But where it states that it is null and void,
But
that means
it's
that
but
it did not exist. So where it did not exist, that means that this guy is still a soldier,
it means this
isn't it?
guy is still a soldier.
So why did the army say he's no longer a soldier? Because they had dismissed him, when the dismissal is actually null and void.
Now, that is where I think the issue would lie, and that is where you would need. If I were his lawyers, I would really go to the court to get a sort of interpretation on that,
But they need to
because
go back to court then.
they need to go. I mean, in my opinion, that's why I'm saying I hate to agree, because on humanitarian basis, on common sense, you would expect that when the Justice Ministry or whoever is the state council that's looking at this, and they say the dismissal is null and void, you would have advised the Gambia National Army to say that this dismissal
Reinstate
is
this
null and
guy.
void. You
Put this
shouldn't
guy
have.
back. Let him
You should
continue his work.
let him continue. But what they have done now is to interpret the judgment by way of the law, to say that yes, his dismissal is null and void. But how do you go to the army and enforce a judgment that says that the dismissal is null and void?
That means he's still a soldier. That is just the
It means
common
he's
sense.
still a soldier.
Exactly.
So
So if you're still
and
a
that is
soldier, where
why,
do you belong?
where do you
In
belong?
the barracks.
But then you see, you're missing the point. The point I'm trying to make is we both agree that that dismissal did not occur. It is null. It is a nullity, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you know where the judgment short it falls short? How do you go to court and make sure that that judgment is enforced? There's nothing there. So where the judgment says that it is null and void, I believe personally the judgment should have gone further to state that he should be reinstated.
Yeah.
Right? I've not seen that yet. Maybe I am missing something, but I've not seen that yet.
My understanding of it, even though I'm not a lawyer, if today my employer tells me that, okay, we fired you, why am I going to stay at home? Because I am fired. That means if I am not fired, I still got my job. Now I go to court and court tells me that your firing is null and void. That means that I still got my job. Or probably that is not how it is interpreted. But of course, I would agree to a great deal that the judgment needed to go further to tell a lot more, to say, reinstate this person into the army and pay him all his dues. But
So
deliberately leaving all that out.
listen where
Yeah.
the listen. So now let me make a point. So the judgment says the dismissal is a nullity.
Yeah.
Right? But let's assume that you wanted to enforce this judgment and you wanted to hold the army in contempt of the judgment by not respecting the court order.
Yeah.
What has the army done to show that the court order has not been respected? It just says that
By maintaining the dismissal, which is null and void.
yeah, but how do you go and enforce the nullity? There's nothing there.
Because there is no longer dismissal, and that means that if the dismissal is what is keeping Omar at home, then Omar got to be back to his work.
Yeah, but then you have that's what I'm saying. So you have so the army
So now
has
if
a
I ask
legal
the army,
opinion.
if I ask the army, why are you keeping Omar at home? What would they tell me? Because we dismissed him, right?
Yes.
And that dismissal is null and void.
Yeah, but then what the army is relying on is that there is no enforceable mechanism. So, for example, if the judgment said,
That is just jangakat muy jaay tapale rek.
well, Janga can be Jai Tape, that's what it is. That's what it is. But because if the judgment, but the point is, if the judgment had clearly stated that he should be reinstated, and then Omar goes back to the army, and the army does not reinstate. Look at this. Let's look at this clearly.
I got it.
Reinstate, and then they refuse. That is a blatant disregard of the order.
But also goes to tell that the judge
So
gave the army the opportunity.
the judgment is declaratory in form, both in form and substance. But there is nothing to enforce. There's no enforceable part of the judgment. So really, I don't want to agree. I like to.
So can they go to the Supreme Court for interpretation?
They don't need to go to the Supreme Court.
Where
All
should they
they
go?
need to go is just go back to the High Court and seek some sort of relief that the judgment be enforceable.
That's simple. That's simple to do, isn't it? Because my personal understanding of it would be two things. The judge deliberately put that judgment without going explicitly to clarify what he meant by that, just to give the government the room to keep this boy at home.
No, but
And the government
when
deliberately,
you
knowing,
when I
understanding
looked at
what
the,
they said,
but when I
why
looked
you're
at the
keeping this boy at home?
application, no,
Huh?
Omar, when I looked at the application, the relief sought was a declaration that that his rights to fair hearing was violated, and that a declaration that his dismissal was unlawful.
Did it say null and void or just unlawful? What language did it use?
Unlawful.
Did it say, to read the judgment, did it say null and void or it says unlawful? If it
But
says unlawful, I would agree.
the
But if it says
problem
null
here,
and void, that means that he's still a soldier. That's what I want to believe.
yeah, the judgment says the dismissal is null and void. So let me explain to you. No, let me explain to you what is happening now. What is happening now is Omar, because
Yeah,
remember, this judgment has not been appealed against.
yeah.
Okay, so because because it looks on the face of it, it looks like a declaratory judgment. It's a declaratory pronouncement. What is happening is Omar shouldn't worry much,
Yeah.
because as far as Omar is concerned, even though administratively he's not being allowed to work
What?
or be
Yeah.
part of the army, but this judgment is basically saying that Omar is still a serving member of the
Of the
Gambia
army.
National Army.
Thank you. Thank you.
And what this means substantively is that maybe you will have a government that does not have the political will to respect the judgment, but when it comes to the calculation of Omar's dues, his gratuity, his pension, it basically means that Omar, by virtue of this declaratory judgment, never left the army.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
it is painful for Omar for now. It is difficult for Omar for now, but the fact remains that as far as the law is concerned, the
He's still a member of
dismissal
the armed
of
forces.
Omar is null and void. It never occurred. It never happened.
That
Now,
means it's
what is
still.
left? What
Mhm.
is left is the second leg, which is to ensure that Omar has a judgment that can be enforced, that is directed to the ministry, to the Ministry of Defense, to the Gambia National Army, to say that this man has to be reinstated. But the reason why I think there is no reinstatement is because the judgment is saying that he was
The
never
dismissal
dismissed in
in
the
itself
first
was
place.
null and void. Yeah, you cannot talk about.
Exactly.
You cannot say this is null and void and still talk about reinstate. Reinstate means you accepted that he was dismissed and then he has to be put back in. But of course, it is telling you that the dismissal is not even anything to go by. It is completely null and void. That means this guy is still a serving member of the armed forces. The best thing would have been, okay, come back and work. Otherwise, go and stay at home. After 20 years, you can go back to court and we will pay you for the 20 years you sat at home because you never left the army.
Yeah.
So the good thing would be go back to court and actually get a proper interpretation of it, and of course get a better judgment that would actually get you all your dues from the time they kept you at home, and of course the period they dismissed you from the army and still keep you in detention for over 3 months. But already this judgment now says that, of course, you staying in Dave, please don't call my phone because I'm using that same phone to actually be on this program. So the judgment already is telling you that even detaining him will no longer be considered, okay, maybe the army detain you when they should not detain you because they already dismissed you. The dismissal was just nothing to go by. So that means this guy in its, common sense is still a serving member of the armed forces, even though has been home because the army refused to get him, his uniform and get him a place to work, but he never left the army. So, on basic advice, what exactly is it to be done? That's to go to court again and get a better interpretation, wouldn't it?
Yes, and just get a judgment, and or just I don't even know. I have to research and just be certain what steps to be taken, because even if you go to the National Assembly Select Committee, I mean the argument would be that, okay, yes, the court says that he's unlawful, but the court has not directed us to bring him back into the army. The court has not said anything.
But the court said the dismissal is null and void. So what
Yeah,
is
but
keeping Omar home was the dismissal. And if that dismissal is no longer in existence, that means Omar is a soldier. So the best thing would be very simple, logical interpretation would be go back to your classroom if you are a teacher to teach. If you are a soldier, go back to your barracks and pick your
But
gun
there
and
is no,
continue
but
work.
there is no. Remember, this guy has been out of the army for such a long for a number of, like, a long period of time. Okay, now let's look at the other face, even the other issue is his detention was illegal
Yeah.
because the court held that he shouldn't have been dismissed in the first place, that whatever led to his dismissal was wrong. But there was no relief that the court granted with regards to the illegal detention.
I still even have a problem with the judgment, because if you tell me that being detained for 3 months is
Yeah, what was
illegal,
the compensation for that illegal
yet
detention?
what did the court give him as a compensation for that illegal
Exactly.
detention for 3 months? So who was the
Exactly.
judge in this case? I did not read the document. Okay, I just forwarded them to you, Khadija. Who was the judge in this case?
Some judge, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically that was it, to my understanding.
Who was the judge?
The judge was, let's see, Justice F. Achibonga.
So there was a guy calling me. That is Omar's brother. Dauda, if you have a different perspective you want to put through, just write your number up here. I think he's in the UK, and Melville probably would call you on WhatsApp, and we hear what you want to add to that. But if you call my phone, I'm using that same phone to have this conversation right now. Of course, he was actually, involved very much in all the court proceedings, and of course was, the brother supporting him to get through all of this. So maybe there is a document or two that we're missing. But going by this judgment, there are two things I have a problem with. The judge could have been more explicit in his, judgment. I still believe that null and void means the guy is still a soldier and should be back in the
No, he
army.
still
But
is. I
of
mean, I
course,
don't think he should worry much,
the
because
second part of it is, if you said that his detention was illegal, and so what? He came to the court to get redress. So what exactly are you providing for him that, as a form of compensation for his illegal detention? Probably nothing, which I do not understand what kind of judgment that is. And I wonder what kind of a judge would do something like that. But yet again, it provides you the opportunity to go back to court because it was not a decision challenged, and then so that you can get better interpretation of it, or probably a better judgment of it, and that is enforceable, that you have paid all your dues from the period, because that is the only possible thing. There is no other thing that any human mortal can do different from what is already been said, that the judgment, or in the judgment, that, of course, his dismissal was null and void, and that means Omar is still a soldier, going by my understanding of that, even though I am not any lawyer. But common sense plays out a lot. It's just law and logic. Aside that, who killed the cops? We've seen how things are going. The police said they are coming tomorrow to do a second year commemoration. It's the same police that told us all kind of things. You never actually got to discuss, the subpoena. How about that? The subpoena had a problem with Peter Gomez calling the, actually, I found that to be contempt of court in my own understanding, to say that the language of the court to actually subpoena his radio to actually bring the the recordings of the interview with Sankare, to say that, you are commanded to bring this, and that he considered that to be a colonial language and described, the language of the court as discourteous, in my own understanding, to say the court was being rude in the way it actually put up its statement. What do you say to that? Khadija, you got to be quiet. For God's sake, you got to be quiet. I don't like what you're doing, okay? You got to be quiet. That's what babies do. They're quiet. Man, you just think I got nothing to do just to be carrying you like that? Even though you're my grandmother wasn't carrying me like that every day. You better shut up.
Okay, so I've basically gotten a response from Omar's lawyer, and he says, with regards to the malicious prosecution and the unlawful detention, I have advised Omar that the best recourse is to seek compensation at the ECOWAS Court of Justice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because already we can tell that even the judge, in one way or another, probably has something to do with the regime to give us such a very flimsy and, of course, a very distasteful judgment like that, you know? But again, it goes to tell that evidently he knows this is null and void, and probably left it vague so that the government will have a position to say, oh no, it is nothing that we can enforce. But that tells a lot about human manipulation and, of course, criminality and hate that continues to guide governance in our country. That tells a lot about the regime and its incompetent criminal dudes who would actually go and interpret things the way they wanted, just to continue to inflict pain on other people. That's just it. That tells about the barbaric acts of this regime that is actually bent on evil in every way that you can define it.
Yeah, because it looks then that the reason for his dismissal was not really it was not on the basis of him being Sadio Mane's son. Because if it has been established that he is not Sadio Mane's son,
Salif
Salif Sajo's son, then I don't see any reason or rationale why it cannot be reinstated back into the army.
But that was why they fired him. That's the only reason. They said he was the son of Salif Sajo. This was all over the Gambia. That was the only reason they fired him, because his name is Omar Sajo and Salif Sajo. They said he was the son of Salif Sajo. But imagine telling somebody who was grade 3 or primary 3 and you said, oh, that was the year he joined the army. How disgusting. Just like the government or the police also told us that Usain Obojan works in Brikama Area Council. How distasteful. What kind of people do we have running our state institutions? It's the same army that went on to say that they did the ballistic examination and only 3 bullets came out of the gun, contradicting their own, whatever people that came in there as witnesses of the state. But it's the same army that told us that this guy is the son of Salif Sajo and lied about it. Why do we have institutions lying against their own people who are serving them with dignity? Why do we have the army criminally conniving and lying against its own members? Why do we have the police criminally conniving to lie about the death of its own people? Where is security in our country? Where is honesty? Where is integrity? Where is professionalism in our institutions? It's something to be sad of. It's something to worry about. And it's something to really, really feel sorry about. Because if our institutions like the Gambia National Army can come out and lie against its own serving members, the police can come out and lie against the killing of its own serving members, nobody is safe in that country. Nobody is safe because the army can come out and lie against its own people. Who are you to think that they will not do anything to you or they will not say anything about you? If the police can come out and probably lie and possibly they kill their own men and come out to lie, the cannibals, and tell us tomorrow they are going to commemorate 2 years. Shame. Shame on the Gambia police force. Shame on its leadership. Shame on the government of the Gambia. Shame on Adama Barrow and his cabinet. Shame on them for giving Mama Jabi 1 million that was actually, given to her, the Ministry of Interior. Shame on the Minister of Interior who made it look like, oh, he went to China so that it can happen in his absence. We are not dummies. The government criminally connived to do this banditry so that they can actually have something to say about the United Democratic Party. When it failed to do so, it actually connived and, of course, put down Usain Obojang and did everything possible to hide traceable evidence so that they can hide their souls. Just like Koro Sise was killed by a regime that came out to be the first people to come and, of course, jale ko. Waaye nguur gi num yaga yaga dega duna feñ de sen feni yep duna musa génna si Ibu so yo mijel phone usino bojanga, format ko. Best do not know you will
Let me
tell the
read. Let
truth to
me let
Gambia.
me read. Let me read a copy of the legal opinion, the internal legal opinion from the army. It says, therefore, even though we are out of time for an appeal, it is worth giving it a try. There are rooms to apply to the Court of Appeal for extension of time. The state must not only show a good reason for the delay, but also show that there is substance in the appeal. The court may readily grant enlargement of time if it is shown to its satisfaction that the delay was caused by the overstretching of state councils and beyond their control. In the event of in the event of non-successful appeal or consideration of non-worthy to appeal, the Gambia Armed Forces should reinstate Couple Sajo Omar in compliance with the court order, and AG Chambers takes positive steps to amend Section 33 of GAF in order to avert future occurrence.
So it advised them to appeal,
Yeah.
and in the absence in the absence of an appeal,
No,
to actually
in the absence of a success in appeal.
exactly in the absence of so that means in the absence of a success or in the absence of an appeal, because if you don't appeal, you will not get any success, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You appeal because you do not agree with something, but if you do not appeal, you will not get success.
No,
So that means in the absence of a success in an appeal, they should reinstate him. So failure to appeal, that means you are not even successful in an appeal because you did not do it.
no,
That
you did
means
not
it's still going
appeal.
to exactly.
No.
So why are they reinstating him? You see, in their own document, it actually holds them at ransom at one point because it said if you have to go and appeal, make sure your appeal is successful. Because failure in your appeal would mean reinstate this person. But how about if you did not appeal at all? Reinstate the young man. Nguur gi nguur gi taxawul si digga nguuri bandi la nguuri saay-saay la nguuri yaay sàccakat lañ man am nga yow professionnel nga yow bu ko dee waxee noonu man nag dama leen falewul boy waay yow boy dëgga rek na dëgga am nga you push people to a point that who respect you so much to start to look at you like a non-entity, and that is how I'm beginning to look at the government of the
Yeah,
Gambia
because
this
it
entire
just looks on the face of it, it just looks like it's somebody just trying to hide, hide, behind the law.
imagine
Because
government
even when
doing
I
this
look
killing
at when
time.
I looked at the publication from the defense minister on the Fourier newspaper, because he was challenged at the National Assembly floor as to why this gentleman was not reinstated
And what did
back
he
into
say?
the army. He said the same thing that the legal opinion said, that the judgment was declaratory in nature, and therefore there was nothing enforceable in that judgment, so the judgment cannot be enforced.
Yet in the same legal opinion, it says that go and appeal and make sure you get a successful appeal. But in the absence of a successful
No, that
appeal,
was the appeal. That was the internal opinion from the GAF lawyers.
oh, so
But when
they got one
no,
from
so when they got
Detention.
that opinion, I don't
Uh-huh.
think GAF was happy with that opinion. So they then proceeded to ask for an opinion from the Justice Ministry. And it
Oh,
was the Justice Ministry that wrote that legal opinion, directing them that there was nothing enforceable in the declaratory order that
that
was given by
that
the
that
court.
tells how disgusting you're this
Yeah.
ministers. Even though you didn't talk about him today, I'm the Gambia mom. Man, kai mom at some point. Most of when it comes to who killed the cops, I was like, you're not my ballot leg, but you just let me finish this case. And after that, I have nothing to do with whatever politics and shit that's going on. But the
No, no,
fact
no,
of
no,
the
no,
matter.
no, 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 no. When I say talking about him, I mean like anything with
No,
regards to
I
me and
know, I
stuff
know.
like
That
that.
that that that's
Stuff.
understandable.
Yeah,
That's
but I mean, when it
understandable.
comes to issues of the law, I mean, come on, I've been doing that forever. I'm no respecter of person when it comes to the issues of the law and looking at what the law is. That's just what it is. That's just what I do, and that's
Right.
what we're gonna continue doing. The fact is, truthfully, it was just hiding behind interpretations and
Right.
hiding behind principles of law, but
And
but
just
but to the
semantics of
average
it.
to the average person, they've said to you that dismissal never occurred. So the right thing to do was to bring this gentleman back and let him continue his job.
It's not even a bring back. It's about let him continue his job because the removal was never even anything that
It didn't
existed.
occur.
So you
But that
just
is
give
what
him
I'm
his
saying.
rifle and give him his boots and give him his uniform to continue his work.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make now is, you know, um, to be honest, it's gonna be painful for him now. But I can
Confirm.
assure you that there would come a time when he would, even if, I mean, even if not in his lifetime, his kids would bear the fruits of that, because as far as the law is concerned, this guy is still a serving soldier. His dues, his benefits, his sal, everything would be paid, because the law
Oh,
deems that he is still there, and the dismissal is null and void. It didn't occur, it didn't happen. It is of no legal effect.
certainly. That's very
So
fair.
that is one thing that he needs to have, and
But
hold
you
on to.
know, the army and the government will play manipulative on that because it's the same people that sat down and said, "Ki domi salif sajola te teguñu ko si dara."
Yes, but the point is the government would not be there forever and ever.
That's the point.
These people will not be there forever and ever. Like I always say, if you don't leave the office will leave you. It will
Certainly.
leave you at some point, certainly. They cannot be there forever. There is bound to be a Pharaoh that doesn't know Joseph. It will come at some point, you know.
That's right.
But the thing is, he should now begin to explore, because really, if the army is relying on the opinion from the justice ministry,
Yeah.
Fufula guy,
Yeah.
that's what they're holding on to.
That's how the delivery of justice has been in our country.
So maybe,
Yes.
and
Run
what
by
is
the
going to happen
criminals who
now?
are the
If he,
Ministry of Justice telling us that they know something about the law. I say,
yeah,
I bandi, I tapale reka pan. Ken ragalu len fi de ngeen ay doxal dega wala nak ngeen why. These folks will come to court and lie without any shame, who are supposed to be giving us justice, that people would know that something went wrong in this country. And of course, we have a Ministry of Justice that is there to establish justice between the citizenry and whoever. But then you come to court and tell us that, oh yeah, Mama Jabi's audio is lost, when you know evidently that this dude you're trying to put in jail. There are people that really think that if you're going to prosecute somebody, it's not about establishing the truth. It's by whatever means incarcerate them. For them, lolo mo them. The Ministry of Justice role is to ensure that there is justice for everybody. If the state is wrong, the state is wrong. But you cannot go and be fabricating lies for the state just because you want to incarcerate a citizen of that country on false allegations, lies, deception, and deceit. That is how you people been running our country. You are going to write press statements against people with your nonsense, and you don't want it to be talked about. Who the hell are you people? Ordinary mortals who did nothing extraordinary in this country, and you don't want anybody to talk about it. That you will take people's relatives and of course their family members and put them in jail for no fucking good reason, and you don't want anybody to talk about it. And that is how you want to continue to run our country? And you think that of course everybody should be scared to tell you what the fuck the truth is? The government of the Gambia got to do right, and we don't care whatever you people want to do, but you must do right, because you know who killed the cops. Young people who did wrong, they did nothing wrong to deserve to die in that gruesome manner. And you shamelessly came out to lie about their death. You shamelessly came out to lie about somebody being somebody's son that never existed. You deliberately refused to reinstate him in the army. You, of course, went ahead and, of course, lie against Hussein Uboja, came out to hide every traceable evidence. And that is the government we have. That should actually give us equity and equality among all citizens of our country. This is the new Gambia built on lies, deception, and manipulation. That is the Gambia that is ruled by the most corrupt people, the kakistocratic regime of the worst in society. And the Gambians will tell you that, oh no, we got to really do this and that. And then your dislike for other political establishment is what is keeping this disgusting regime, and we are all going to feel it. I'm going to Sako Malo I-7 800. Sako Cement, more aga 6 700.
wow.
Probably that was a mistake. Every other day, the kind of medical issues you hear from the country are just things you cannot hold your head on. And then people will tell you, oh no, when you don't need to say much about the country. People outside are suffering more than people inside, because what you got to do, everything you got to work for, it goes back to
It goes
certain
back
groups of
home. It goes
people.
back to them. Yeah.
And that is what people need to understand. And we will not spare anybody who will sit on your radio or wherever, whatever platform you got to tell us that the language of the court is discourteous simply because somebody came to your radio to lie against an ordinary Gambian and the court asked you to bring the recordings. And of course, shamelessly, you did not even care about the death of these two young men and you were laughing out loud to say, oh, the language of the court is discourteous. And you folks think, oh, no, don't talk about this person. We don't give two
Who
F's to
said
any
the
person.
language of the court was discourteous?
Peter Gomez.
For real?
Imagine Sankare was called to the
Why,
court
why did he say that? What was the reason
because
for
the
it?
court said that in the name of the Republic of the Gambia, you are commanded
Yeah, that's the order. That's the
to
order. That's
bring
the
this and
yeah.
this. That commanded is what he feel was he's too big to be commanded. He said, imagine telling me commanded. He was actually in the manner that he's trying to disrespect the court and to say the language of the court is a colonial language and that is
But he shouldn't have
discourteous.
gone. He shouldn't have gone and see. He shouldn't
And
have
that
gone.
is discourteous. And of course, Sankara start laughing about it. We are talking
Because
about
if he had not gone, then he would have been arrested. A bench warrant would have been issued for him.
and we are talking about the death of two Gambians who
Yeah.
died in their line of duty. Remember, they do Domi Adamasa.
You're
You have some
commanded in
little
the name of the
remorse in your
Republic.
heart.
That's the form.
And if that is what exists in our laws, who is somebody to tell us that that language is discourteous and, of course, laughing about a matter as serious as killing two serving officers in their line of duty? That a government state, spokesperson could come and make that and make fun of that and make it look like, oh, he's a good grammarian, that he was able to, kind of get his way out with the lawyers or the defense counsel, thinking that he knows what he was doing, he knows what he was saying.
Oh, he said that. He
Shamelessly,
said that on Coffee Time.
of course,
Can you send
shamelessly.
Can you send me that later if you
Oh
have it?
man, okay, I would actually look for it again. I
Yeah,
think I
I
shared a
like
bit
to
of it,
listen
but I
to
would
it.
send you the whole version of it because the bits and
Yeah,
pieces would not
but
be
I'm
really
going
real.
to
But
what I'm going to do. I'm going to read this judgment properly. I mean, I've
and
just looked
probably
at
we
the
will
last.
have more conversations around that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm going to look at this judgment properly. So
we
yeah,
gotta go, man.
yeah.
It's
So
time
let's
for we just wrap that up and
yeah,
then
let's wrap it up.
yeah.
But I think I've got a lot of feedback, and people are saying Thursday to Thursday is so far in between that there's so many things happening. I'm like, okay, yeah, we've got our own lives too and things to do.
We probably need to look into the weekend and a lot is happening in the political space too, even though we are not talking about it. We
Yeah,
saw
a
Talib,
lot.
we've seen resignations happening in the UDP, we've
Mhm.
seen things happening, we've seen Dabo won the primaries by 98, whatever thing that
And
is
I
happening.
think, to be honest, I think the primary was very fair. I mean, from all
But
indicators, it was very fair.
the fact of the matter is that even if Talib had remained, UDP will not ditch Dabo for any person at this stage.
I said that before.
That's not possible.
I
The
said
only
that.
way somebody else would win is
Is
when
if
Dabo
Dabo is
says,
not
I
running,
am not
not
interested.
interested. Yeah,
But wherever
absolutely.
Dabo said
The
I'm interested,
loyalty is unshaken.
sure. And then if you look at the things that they are looking at, the parameters of the engagement, they're talking about loyalty to party. Who is more loyal to UDP than Dabo?
Than Dabo, no one.
So
No
if you
one.
look at all the things that are set for this, there is no way. Pabi, and I'm gonna dega. Trial ngen my wife man ni man kai. And ut kenan. But where he fails to do that, it will always be him.
No. Even I think, and that is why I think like I said, and I've always said, I think the issue for me was not Talib. The issue with Talib for me, I think he could have arrested that. But I think the issue was with the followers, the militants.
Yeah.
And the way they went about it was it seemingly looked as if, in fact, I wouldn't want to use the word seemingly. It almost appeared as disrespect and disregard for
Yeah.
Dabo.
Yeah.
And I think that is what brought about the
All those
shift
other
in
people.
dynamics and
All
the
the
change.
all the people actually joined the race not because they
Jo-
wanted to contest
Not
Dabo.
because they wanted,
That's
yes. It was
political.
that's why I said all of those.
Political.
I said it was strategic.
Yeah, it's
It
all
was
political.
absolutely strategic because there was no way that the UDP, the UDP stronghold, were going to ever entertain or even allow. You understand just to contemplate the idea or the
Yeah.
notion that
Yeah.
Talib would go with Dabo on a primary and come out
And
as the
win.
winner.
Yeah.
They cannot.
Yeah.
The UDP will not. If you
Yeah.
understand UDP, the diehard UDP people
It's just
they
politics.
would rather die and than see that.
Yeah. I
So
think for another person to take over the mantle of leadership, it's Dabo who had to make that declaration.
there has
I
to
am
be
now
that
ready.
blessing. There has
Yeah.
to be that blessing
But
from
whenever
a
Dabo is
father.
interested, no way.
No way.
But that's a topic for the whole day, man. I gotta go, man.
Yeah. So
I've been
let's
out
see
since
what we can do.
3 a.m.
Let's see what we can do on Saturday.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
possible.
Okay.
Nice talking to you,
But
man.
have a
Catch
good night,
up.
and thanks to all our viewers. Thanks
Oh
for
man,
joining us as
y'all
always.
have a wonderful evening.
All right. God bless. Thanks.
Bravery of our own officers today, let us not allow this sacrifice to go in vain. Let's commit each other on at our own capacity to build a safer Gambia, one which justice prevails, where every officer returns home safely, where peace trumps over violence. On behalf of the Inspector General of Police, his senior management, and the entire Gambia Police Force, I thank you for being here to pay tribute to these fallen heroes. I encourage each and every officer to maintain the momentum, but I also appeal, as far as this matter is in court, the provocations are definitely going too much. There are families who lost their loved ones. The Gambia Police Force lost their gallant officers. But we are seeing always the police force, the families are always provoked by people that obviously they don't know what has happened. I plead to each and every person, those that are doing it, please let them leave everything in the hands of the courts. Here we believe in justice, and definitely justice will prevail. I thank you all for your kind attention. We here honored the memory of the bravery of our own officers today. Let us not allow this sacrifice to go in vain. Let's commit each other at our own capacity to build a safer Gambia, one which justice prevails, where every officer returns home safely, where peace trumps over violence. On behalf of the Inspector General of Police, his senior management, and the entire Gambia Police Force, I thank you for being here to pay tribute to these fallen heroes. I encourage each and every officer to maintain the momentum. I also appeal, as far as this matter is in court, the provocations are definitely going too much. There are families who lost their loved ones. The Gambia Police Force lost their gallant officers.
You lost your officers? You really care about them? Really?
The police force, the families are always provoked.
But the family, Jumalle go provoke la family. Jumalle go provoke la nyumbango ka.
I plead.
Family. Min la mol fada. Jumalle go provoke la nyumbango ka.
Let them leave everything in the hands of.
Okay, ulo la buga tonya fo.
Here we believe in justice, and definitely justice will prevail.
Justice le kabarato le prevent wala wato min alka uliala usen bojal kan kala fen call fast. So let me shut that up, and then we'll get into the conversations proper. No, leave my computer, baby. You go. No, don't do that. Go get your tablet. Go get your tablet over there. Yeah, it's over there. Yeah, pick that one. No. Right. No, your tablet's right in front of you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for coming forward to have this conversation. I'll try to put the English aside, and we speak typically probably Mandinka Wolof, and and we can put in the English as well. But to start with, bilo luntemi alonko abenta sanjif akeda sanjifulati kabring police olu bunkido la Gambia yefa yo poroka ka context di water drum police sabala be loring sukuta traffic light, and then mo sort of mi bunkido la ni mo sabobe bunkido la mo fula fay kono mo killing onata bara mo sort of je bare ala nata o de ma o man faul kono yo ni mo sabol kono killing to mo pate jallo lati do to mo sanje gomesti yo sanje kera moto mi yalon gon tangalon dinnin ke kurim ba dinnin kende ba amam mo batande amam mo tonya amam mo tora yo pata dem mo londe para ko la nara min fana muta usenu bojan ko mo lebero de wala police olufa wala jo pura police olufa o kedan ka funyo bati kabirin din tolle tara karam mun kilin tolle kulura nyoko na sat nyola sade kilin tolle menda nyola o sade kilin kono. So there are two sides to the story. E mo kilo min fawol kono ngol ne kende e ko min fana ye faado ngo fana lonne tolle police ol yaminfo iyo bi keta wala sanji floti kabiri ye bunkilo la yefa damanga hete ndami falti ni la tele tara break la do tamam patient so ta yo ta tabenta jomol ndala kala so sanji fula bi kabiri yo ta yo la fana mo yo la commence den ngoy ta yo la tele jiba Khadija, sorry, excuse me. Now go. Can you go now? Can you go watch TV? Come on, get that. Get that. Go get your shoes. Get this. Okay, one more. So, bikara sanji fula de kabiring yenyim police olfa. And then nada min jawla nyindiko. The first year anniversary, we've seen politicians involved. They went to Sukuta traffic light here. Mabo. We saw people there, including Lamin Kesedi and other people. But a wallo multi kabiri nyim police faketa wallo mo follow to minifini gavoko you blood likiliki UDP kolle. But what's the context that I want to bring to you today, up to speed, because I'm not here to stay too long, is to tell you what Pate Jallo just said. Nyim Pate Jallo, atelo moti mi ya lonko ka tajirinte yani tilimbali atili UDP kolola. For UDP kol dole jusu bota. Eko Pate Jallo mbenjole ni la police ol tola atol ka kurian tapaleani tilimbali amin ken tol UDP kola mbenjola. Now within that period, me UDP kol jusu bota eko Pate Jallo eko mbenjole tole is the period in which these two officers were killed. Interestingly, the people that were killed, one of them's name is Pate Jallo. Now UDP said Pate Jallo mbenjola. It had a Pate Jallo dofa, making it look like it's a mistaken identity, which is not the case, which was a deliberate plot to kill police officers, and then inata murung kotenke oma sakunda kilungu. Pate Jallo mimbe balurin coming foko, it only lua respectly, it only la molo kanule, and it only left la police olale, it only fintita kawulia for mintambita wulia talulula on one single case. But I left a Pate Jallo nyin kala minna. Kabirin DIG soka for what code they used to get Usainu Bojang. Where was Pate Jallo? For Pate Jallo Malonko, DIG soka mean for Fanialongo. The father Malongo Fania is the biggest betrayal and of course disappointment to the people that were killed. Adeka mean for being people that are talking. He's not talking about any other person, he's talking about me because I'm the one that is daily talking about this case and I don't freeze over that. Ani Pate Jallo nyala safa ko Pate Jallo to yalo na miye police olfa. Ngo, hani mimankete ni IGP, hani president wanyalan safa ko lama sakunda yalo na miye police olfa. Ita manke fenti na manke hada madin kenso ngode minna buroda mo fala ti jam kunum. I will talk to you directly today. Boneke good, dangay tuda wahal ne malmo itala ruole itala kanyim fojang and you know nothing about it. You said we don't know anything about this case and we are talking about it and we got to shut up, right? But you that knew everything about it, yet you came out to lie to the teeth. Tell us that Usainu Bojang that we know and grew up with and went to school with is a rebel. I told you Fania Bondi Muntola police ning ayata ratol la mol min fara atol you horoma ali ol bunya ali ol respect and wala saya ayatol sunu. Muni atol bula wuli afola. Pate Jallo kabiring alla mole press conference kumandi. Kafoko Usainu Bojang was actually in the Senegalese rebellion or the Casamas rebellion. Where were you? Didn't you understand that it is the cops who work under you people that were killed? And of course, they were killed because one's name is the same as yours and you were the person that's been castigated by the UDP. What did you say to that? But Pate Jallo later ko moliela officer kono ko Usainu Bojang confessed to the killing of the cops.
It's you that is telling us that we need to respect the courts and wait for the courts to actually make a judgment. Pata jala barangamira kabini sankare kata West Coast Radio to laugh about the killing of the cops and call the courts, decision to subpoena them as discourteous. Where were you? Bare pata jala nimbe nyinen kala kabiri ngatol ko sienu e combat butole dung ay police wala fa wala liya sambanang kota man kunga singola. Where were you when the police was formatting his phone? Pata Jallo, is that the justice that you people preach? Is that the right thing that you are trying to tell us today? That ko atol lata tilungon into nyata mando la nabanko ka Pata Jallo. Aterete bo kuriaren ko meseso. Give me a second. Pata Jallo, I want to ask you this question. Where are the codes of DIG so that actually led to, the arrest of Hussein Bojang? Pata Jallo, where is the recovered money from Hussein Bojang? Pata Jallo, why were the PIU stationed at that particular position at that particular time? And why was a Pata Jallo there? What was the initial guard post or position of Pata Jallo before you people brought them to Sukuta traffic light? What was the reason for bringing them to Sukuta traffic light? Why is Auntie Jawa still in the Gambia and still cannot get proper medical attention as required by, the doctors? Ngo, na atratol yalla police ol kuliali horomali bunya falkalbe anniversary leke ke mimbe baluoto atol mo sambano jararola. Moro, nyone bula. Al fanya bula. Kakumo nyandi wata jande albe fanya la bula la le to nyata man nyinkesto bara ni wonte mote de la jande. When you push people that you don't know, you push them to the limit, they show you what they can do. Pade, amanke kukotented, imam fellon dunia mulma millon. Ila tapaliani, ila bandiya, iba mimbela police, a bele belankane mari mulbulo kono. Ibe kuriarin ko mese so yamra mulmalo, when other people come to your office, you act like, oh, I'm the good police officer, come let's take a photo. I'm not those kind of folks. Pate, ku killing inyanta millon na bite ko. People that are talking about the case are provoking the families. Because which families are we provoking? We are asking you a very basic question. Who killed the cops? Who killed the cops? Wala ka atol balo jani. Atol man la fika lon jumale police olfa. Atol police ol murunta le fanya double double ka fanya talulu nim femfo molle o banko ka ngamu atol ko mama had an incriminating audio where Ufsenu confessed to the killing of the cops, but it's the same police officers that actually came to court and said, you know what, the audio is lost through your DPP or whatever person that you brought into court. After your investigation and after you people transcribed that audio over 3 times at your police headquarters. Muna atol sa femfo no wala sayato nimmalo battle nyato. What's that about? No, go watch your TV. What do you want me to do? What? I'm not playing with you. I gotta do. Come on. You don't want that? Okay, go. Come on, get that go. Now go. Good girl. Sai ning ayata ko Pata Jallo tonyale betebulu. We have to leave the court. We are provoking the police and the families. It's a miracle you can play that, emotional, dishonesty on the minds and hearts of the victims' families. No, Pata, you cannot do it. Be sembola battle bulu mansayala bala bulu, uniform ola bala walta femfo no la. But I'll need wali uniform belori yalo na kokule mantaku. Kadu wal min fon be lori wod like betel la moy la tilimbaliani la emotional dribbles la. They know that you are not smarter than them, and you know within yourself that you are not smarter than them. That they know that people that are speaking the truth want justice to come out, and they are never provoking them because you don't love those folks more than we do. But whereas they did not die in their family affairs, they died in the service of the country. They become the responsibility of every citizen to make sure that there is justice for these people. Who killed the cops? What has that got to do with provoking the families of the deceased? Ilafta wala dundila woltulol kono. Ite man baraka wolti. Ite man nyame wolti. Ite man kara wolti. Ite man dunyalo wolti. But if there is any person that provokes those families, it's the people that were lying to them since the death of these people to this day. And that is you and your co-conspirators, of course, your people that you work with. That is the police command. Atolle konyoko usenu bojanne wala fa atolle investigation wala release after 30 hours of getting the dude. But atolle nata kiti bungoto alla cool ale min befo Gambian koli ale press conference o kumandika wuliafo on the death of people before even their burial. Ali wuliafo Gambian koli fala na tambita al wulta wod wuliafo dulala fongoto kata wala bade dula. Atol muslim ollet. Atol lara alal. That you people could stand why before these people were even buried, lie to the teeth, and then walk away to go to their funerals. And you still have a clear conscience. You still have a conscience to come and stand at the 2nd year anniversary and tell people that, oh yeah, asking you the question who killed the cops is provoking the families. Oh no, hell no, Father Jallo. Hell no. You, your boss, and your former boss, and in your another former boss who actually got discharged, atolle a long dumale police olofa. Katu natol malo miye police olofa. Moni atol bula wuli ya fola woto. Pate jallo. Moni atol bula kafo ko usenu boja mu rebel leti. Moni atol bula kafo ko usenu boja was paid to kill and part of the money paid was recovered when it is nowhere to be seen. Pate jallo ning ayata ratol mantro family provokang. Moni atol bula ka usenu boja na telephone format. If you are not insulting those families, Pata Jallo, Moni Atol Bula Kafoko, the gun cannot be subjected to DNA when you know that one of your witnesses said he picked the gun on the day of the incident. Pata Jallo, Atole press conference commanded to talk about this case, and everything you people talked about in that press conference were lies and fabrications. Wale atina kabira aboto walungo la alamang femfo nyunkuoto ye you know ye ulen yabi ulen enangi ne tek because hamgen ne askan bi yep hamna ne ay fenkat ngeen. Ay nit yu dul wax dega ngeen ay reyu kati nit ngeen mako wax nak because nat ratolu mam fellom police la sayato mu natolu bula wul ya fola woto lo xamul e bulu medo si medo mu ne bula fan ya fola woto ikafo mole ko we wait for the courts to determine what the courts will not determine anything. The case is in the court, but you have the guts to come and stand on a platform and talk about it, and you want everybody to shut up. Who the hell are you people? Because you wear uniform, again a uniform, you are nothing but Pate Jallo. When you wear the uniform, you must be accountable to the citizenry. And this case, ngo ajarta yemin ajarta nye talu la katambi wala. De benala de. Giso benit kudde nyari yon. Ngo nga molla je jamini ka molla mol faja ye fa fo murunta ye fangol fa abe wala ko neta fango doma. Ita sa fem fo no moy Gambia. Yo di nga muna has nit ci deka bobu non. Yo munga wax nit dara in that country to even tell people that they're provoking the families. No, the families know that we are supporting them to get justice. Because yalon na kwa to tulungan into nyata mandilaje. Wale ati natole mama jabi kumani nang at the Ministry of Interior and handed over a 1 million check to those people. When you cannot even take Ansijao for treatment. Patajallo, if you care about the well-being of these people, and of course you cared about their life and you care about their loss, come on, take Ansijao to the international treatment that the doctors recommended. Why didn't you do that? The entire government machinery fails to take this lady for treatment, and she's still suffering in the country, and you have the audacity, the guts to come out and tell us that, oh yeah, you care about the plight of these people, and of course you're very, very remorseful that they died in their line of duty. Ye funny man tonya for man ke tonya moti. Ita komo. Yo si. Iman tonya for. And Gambians are watching. Moro, ndanita tema Gambians would actually tell. Manko kilolonde, do my tagas ma bopade, why ngala no kokuma kensa on damantra wotonak. Can do talk si deka bobu non, kullo memba voloko malmo mama sosal. Why nak budega nyowe nak bude we got to defend our homies, we will defend them to the letter and then ragalun chicken. Fale when kunga don, even if you have barrels of hot water coming from anywhere, we don't give 2 Fs. You know what we care about? That you do the right thing. So long you choose to wear our uniform, it belongs to the government of the Gambia and the Republic of the Gambia. You will be accountable to Gambians. Photo police will atol mantambi kula la faniyang kala murundi wala kang every single day. Tomorrow will be 2 years since you incarcerated this innocent young man and his sister, lactating sister. Aliala dimbaya be jahaz. Look at it today. Ami's children, some are in Yundum, dolbe brufut, dolbe dula kotangol, ali one dimbaya be charindi. Fentem falla jowya na la hasidiya nin konnante ya baratol mo kilingol le wulta katol kanyin la sayale jura baratol yalo na mi yol fa kadu natol mo long mune batol bulal wuliya fola again the the vehicle that was at the crime scene, that is said to be the vehicle of the murderer, belongs to a police officer. What kind of an investigation have you done in this matter to tell us that, oh yeah, we care about the plight of these people? Why didn't the IGP come there? He had to send you because you tell people because you're police officers. And so what? Ngo nga police kendo le jele nga police kurungol je o kurungol ni wotapale la tolbe wala kon ite pata jallo be wala kon ndala ngaf ya kuno wora ku keje ko ndala ngaf ngo aliye mimbe for police or the police high command that includes you aliye fan yala fal manke tonya molti, and then you people know who killed the cops, and then you cannot annually come and tell lies to the people, and then okay, today you came and said people that are talking about the case got to shut up. And then they got to shut up because what they are saying is provoking those families. But which families are we provoking? Aliya minla molu fal murunta ko den aliya fanya foy aliya fulanjang aliya sabanjang aliya naninjang alkonye ko senu bojambe do ko la Brikama area council. Is that not even the biggest insult to the families that you kill their folks? To tell them that Dolga Mimuta wala be do ko la Brikama area council, which is the simplest thing to establish, just for everybody to come out to realize that Usainu Bojang never worked in Brikama area council. But I told the control yoko, Usainu Bojang was actually the guy in hoodie, and the guy in hoodie came out and told us that is not it. What else did you come out to tell the families of the people that died? Hani ufeng alamola foy. But in Gambian call tend to ngejay because this is a country where people any molsa benno any sa kambembalia nyaonya but tonya nakar lal man siare na man kenyi man sakunda do kula ni killing tapale multi, because the people understood what the facts are. And that is why when you make any post about this case, what are the questions you get? Who killed the cops? Gambia no be wonyin karo kelale ngo ay sandi jamalata Gambia banko ka molka nyin karo ke who killed the Haidara. Imant batala de anunte dun nenata batala nyinna lum len jaral lek waxna len ko lu ko opala ma jaral, because ñun duñ xol you incarcerate people that did no wrong, and again we look at you and we know beyond reasonable suspicion that you know something about the killing of the cops, because not only Malong, why did you format Ousainou Bojang's phone? Pate Jallo, can you answer that question? If you are a very conscious and of course a skillful police officer that you pretend to be, can you tell us why you said you actually formatted Ousainou Bojang's phone? Can you tell us what the 3 military officers were doing at that crime scene? Can you tell us, Pate Jallo, why UDP was complaining about you, and of course you were not killed, but of course a junior person who has the same name as you was killed in his line of duty, and why was he stationed at that particular location? Batare ala tambira wala. Moro, atol ta fen sural be min fono lan tolye. Tolen yakar ñun ko gëna yakar nak mo faale kabirim bi yali wolong. Ñum banko man kala keta bankuti. Al nim bede na ñum banko la. Al man baraka moti ñum banko kan. Al man ñonta yake ñum banko kan mol man min kala mata jang. Na man ke batara yani tilimbal yani tajidin ti yata al kamin tiling Gambian ko la. Al ko moti o fala. Pate Jalla be fola la biya ba fola la sama ni bentel la don tela kafu an mba fola la bimba fola la sama mba fola la sinending. Katu ngalo nako Ousainou Bojang nintolle tata karam killing anin tolle menta nyola sate killing anin tolle dindi ya poninke ya keba yake nyoka sate killing nimbi atol wultal kontrolle ko mu rebelolti ayino abe nun kasa mas rebelol lokon molle abula mo fala abe UDP le abe do ko la Brikama area council le min ya jo kodo min nga to tabulle, and then wolungo min ni incident kede wolungo la tata kasa mas ibe manni ka kanwala ibe kandola fo kan on ibe jola kanwala fo kan fo kabiri fo tata ka saya nyin na ko fo for me along ko driveway wala moy, just for us to understand that all of it in totality abe mo faniality. Then kon yen script bobu kan mo len ko bindal fo len ko wir and connected to things that were said prior to that were UDP complaining about Pate Jallo. And then you people came out and fabricated an entire script, told us that Ousainou Bojang works in Brikama area council. Dul Ousainou Bojang is a rebel fen. Ousainou Bojang actually, we recovered part of the money he was paid. I fenikese. You formatted his phone. The shoes did not fit. You said the incriminating audio is lost. Who is provoking the families? Who is provoking the families, Pate Jallo? I ask you, who is provoking the families? Manak yo, who is provoking the families? Akwaitan na konyala te masa kede mampata imang pata jallo long imanyindolo. Maybe they will tell you, okay, there is a name exactly like the one UDP is complaining. Ali alla tapalian nala tilimbalial kal tata will fa batarian in tilimbalian in joya kono. You know, and then Allah cool man na woka kale na wala ndola for neke kan kalta lala kan bial ta lala kan samal sa soron ka dia dala nyambi ko sembo batol lebul bare lumbe sila to nyabe sabat la nyimbanko kan an woto nya sabat tal kado gambian ko be yalo nako ala ya lon kila yalo sen bo jambul madunga si madunga man futa nyindi la famoto atol le ya lon min ye police wol fa ka ta atol min findita ale scripto be findinda ala scripto from A to Z a be mo fani ya ken sen wala so muni ya atol bulo fani ya fola wala moli badi wol ni konoto kanu mol nyanta atol nyin kala wala ko moro bara atol le nyim be foto yara fo be mo fani yalti muni ya tinna atol kala nyim mutata ba UDP la bara nga moy la fanan ko UDP ko le ba fo kam pata jallo bara bay man tan la nyim pata fo kam alfa ali wol fa se woto muni atol bla kuma ken sen fola woto ning ay atol yen nyim mol horomali e bunya ila saya ya atol dimi muni ya tinna atol man to nya fo fatol le fan ya fo muni ya tinna up till date you people since after all your lies and fabrication albe there in tech alman fem fa ko do ko tank alko mol ye de ntende la pata jallo we will never atol tan tol de ni no la ito man ko baraka dim famati min san tol de ni no e mo mono mingi mo mani ma folo min batin nan tol ngande wakidi table ngo hana tara kom ika sama santo le jindina ika nim banko nakini nyobala lolo tahod ñun nopi domi adama rek nga the lives you people killed you people will be accountable until doomsday. We will continue to ask the questions, who killed the cops? That question will continue to come up. Why does that hurt you? It is our anniversary family. Instead of talking about something sensible to those families, you kweke that tilin tolla. It is that feje non tolka. Na manke fallom baliati nin kalamta baliati. Ite be fenna fono lante. Ma fo fisa mante ya bijere. Bare mo kurungol nin tapalel nin batara mo kol wala sa fen fono tolle mi yalon ko nana mam wala fen sunya nana mam mo nakara kula min yalon ko lolu nakare nin tapale ya to ka balu wala mo la banko ka al na la man sakunda kurungol nin tapalel min yalon ko atalo ka ko sifa beke wali just to keep them in power, and you don't want anybody to say anything about that. Nigga, chill, bro. Ebe kumo min forward la man ke tonya ti man tonya fo fan yala fo ka fo ko people are provoking the police and the families. No, people are accounting the police, asking them the real questions: who killed the cops? Why did you lie? Answer the question. Tell us why you had to lie that much. Alamandam funny, alaman police, alaman wuliya dang allo press conference fangala. But you actually went on to actually transfer some of your lies to the Ministry of Justice, so that the DPP could come to the court and say that Mama's incriminating audio is lost. But atol malon ko Gambia mbe dental mbela wuluta nyokanko. Aliyo audio sambad lal minu fangoto purke transcribed. Akfahamu talo ko alenye audio transcribed le sinya saba. Bar kabirali audio transcribe sinya sabali ajo ko nyin audio kono de dulaman soro seru boja ya fo damen ko tolle police wol fa o kate police fa kule ke wala ku ko den kabirali ajo ko man soro another moneke just to come and be telling things that did not exist. Dia you saw le biwo manda lumbe sila moro fana betalale so woto ku kilimbuka tu tonya dorne be labanna tonya killing wala be labanna wala be sotoring and wala be labanna. So I'll listen to you one more time and just quickly look into what exactly this dude is saying, and so we understand the context in which he's trying to tell us what we got to do as a people, and that we shouldn't be talking about the killing of the cops, when in reality the police have lied to the citizenry multiple times about a single case that involves the killing of its own men. That should have been more of a priority for the police to establish the truth and make sure there is justice in that case. But the police turned out to be the fabricators, the manipulators, and the liars in the same case. That included the death of its own men. These are cannibals. No matter how you celebrate, you will never be glorified in this case. Gambians will continue to vilify you. Gambians will continue to ask you the genuine questions about the killing of the cops. And someday, somehow, the truth will prevail.
What we are seeing always, the police force, the families are always provoked.
The police force, the families are always provoked.
Obviously, they don't know what has happened.
By people who obviously did not know what has happened. So you know everything that had happened. Why did you lie? Oh, we should leave everything in the hands of the courts. You cannot be accountable. Because that court would, in one way or another, is in the hands of the regime. And you people will do whatever you want to do with it.
The bravery of our own officers today, let us not allow this sacrifice to go in vain. Let's commit.
They were not in the battlefield.
Our own capacity.
They were walking in the streets of the Gambia just to be shot dead.
And which justice prevail, where every officer returned home safely, where peace triumph over violence.
You know where justice ceases to prevail? When you start lying to the citizenry. When you start formatting a suspect's phone.
The entire Gambia police force, I thank you for being here to pay tribute to these fallen heroes.
No. Don't touch that. Leave
I
that.
encourage each and
I
every
courage.
officer
Ndama ita
to
kamo angale
take
kan si fala phone. I courage. Yala ni be phone ya fola ni mal life phone ni lota phone kumo buka phone because I courage malo angale kan si fault. You courage. What exactly are you talking about? These are the people that are leading our police force. Patara mo ko kalamuta dingol. Imam fenne bonni no nyoto ikba fola mole ko I courage. Ita phone like senea. Because even the one that spoke either after you or before you, that other commission of anti-crime, wala control yo kwa nara koda ko useno bojan na fate moto ko na kwatele police lo fa bar kabiri useno bojan ko fate jumala be je mote je ateda mala bodo ngaji onyom fan yala be kering anu ngakalam ta dole be ko ne lafta bor lan kanana nya na america jang na ta jang Michael Sangoria bal karan la mimbe kering jang to telo mon to nyala ka tama jang batara mo ko buka balu jang. So the whole point that we want to talk about today is that I, for one, probably I'm not sure if any other person is so much on this case like that. So I take it personal that this dude is referring to me. And the fact is that I have never provoked any family, if not to support those families in a way or another, to tell them that, of course, justice needs to prevail. That the people that actually were lying about this case in and out knew something about it. I always tell them to leave this. That we always try by all means to ensure that we speak to these families to understand that, of course, something did not go right. And that includes the suspect that you got in prison who knows nothing about it. And that's how justice needs to be served. That every person, irrespective of whatever lies and fabrications they put on you, you deserve a fair trial and to ensure that there is justice. Because ning ayata ko tonya be man sakunda bulu. Na amre ito le subpoena than to come to court. The government has been put to shame times without number in this case. And that is why it's shameful for the same people in the police to come out to say that they are commemorating the death of these people when it was the same people that came out to the entire Gambians to lie to them about the death of these same people. So I wouldn't take too long. I think DJ needs some attention. So I will just cut it there. But part just know, ken ragalula fi. Lo fi wahiyep ay feni kesala. Yen police, ham den nyurey police. So ngatu woro.